is so easy to do it wrong. It's
Mm,
so easy to turn people off,
yes. Yeah.
um, and so difficult to invite people in a way that feels solid, because
Yes.
because intention is something that is not this is not intention.
Right.
It
It's not visible. You cannot
It's
measure
not
it
visible.
or
That's
yeah.
right.
You
Same thing
can't
with energy. Um,
yeah.
yeah, same thing with the idea of manifestation,
Mhm.
and how intention is wound with that. And um, I've had experiences, some experiences in those areas,
Mm.
but it's not the way you think it is before you have those experiences.
Mhm.
Once you've given yourself to it in a way in these energetic worlds, and you have that experience like that, you realize that um, you're participating in something that you really don't understand. I mean, it's
Yeah.
not to understand it; it's to actually make use of it, in
Mhm.
a way.
Yes.
Do you understand
Can
what
you
what I'm getting at?
yeah, can you share an experience or that you can hear,
Well, sure. I
about?
mean,
Yeah.
oh,
Because you're
I
right,
told you I had.
to get across the power of consciousness and thought, it's invisible. Now you're in a material stuff and you have to
Yeah,
bridge the gap to what's really running the show here. And it's very
yeah.
hard because our
It is
immediate
really hard.
reality is this. Yeah.
Yeah.
So share some of your,
Well,
if
I
you
think,
can.
I think that, sure, I was diagnosed with cancer, and so I had to work through that. And I think one of the most inhibiting things is fear. It sounds kind of obvious in a way, but then if you can find a way to just take that and put it over there,
Yeah.
then you've got more energy to devote to something else, which might be um, reflecting, reflecting on how you got to where you got, maybe, or asking yourself where you would like to go, what you would like to be. I think there's some soul searching involved when we get a diagnosis. Not to say that we make it happen to ourselves, but we're part of it. Like we're part of it in some way
Mhm.
or another. So I
Mhm.
think there's a bit of that, if you taking the fear aside, and then finding some kind of tradition. In my case, I found a tradition that is energetic based, and practice that. I think there's another stance there which is also helpful, putting aside fear and then practicing like a child. So
Yes.
it's not that you are going to be taken advantage of if you put aside your skepticism, because skepticism can be good, right?
Oh,
It
yes.
protects us
Mhm.
in certain situations.
Mhm.
But it's for the period of time that, say, you're working with the master, or reading or
Mhm.
practicing,
Mhm.
you do it as though you know it's going to work.
This is tremendous. Say that again, because it's exactly right.
You do
It's
it as
exactly
though you know it's going to work. So that's a kind of it's a kind of trick that you play with your mind and your heart.
right.
And you just say, okay, for this time, I am going to accept everything that is said to me. I am going to practice with 100% of my ability, and I'm doing it as though I know it's going to work. Then an
Mm.
hour later, I can kind of scratch my head and think, I wonder, but the next time I practice, I'm going to do it as though and if I practice every day and for a couple hours a day, then it starts to, I start to shift in my level of positivity, and my conception of possibility.
Yes. And I think you again just nailed it. Fear in
Yeah,
all of its forms. And when
yeah,
we go back, what is this fear? It's really rooted in leaving the physical body, which we
yeah,
actually identify with. And that's
yeah,
okay because that's how we Davida and Nisha are talking. We need the body
That's
to
right,
be
we
here
do.
and talk, and we love it. We move it, we feed it, we brush its teeth, and all of it.
Mhm.
But that fear, and I just your technique of just put it here for a while.
Yeah, just put it over there. So you can
Put
go
it
back to it
over there.
anytime.
Yeah,
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 yeah. I've sometimes said to patients, treat your fear like a teddy bear. Just put it over there, pat it on his head, and say, I'll come back to you. They
yeah,
think
yeah,
that's funny, but it's really a very powerful thing to
it
put it
is.
over here.
Yeah.
Put it over here.
Well, and the other thing is, that's not the only thing we're afraid of in life. So if we can do it in a situation where we've been received a diagnosis that is
And
not pleasant, then we can also practice that in every aspect of our lives. Because these sort of things become opportunities to develop these kind of skills. If
mhm,
you're lucky enough to be able to come through it the way I did, uh, I had lots of opportunity.
mhm.
The other through this practice to develop skills that I have not uh, let go of just because now I'm 100% healthy. I,
Wow.
those things are
Yes.
now part of me, right? They're now
Becomes
part
your
of me.
mantra to respect and yeah,
That's
to
right.
live
Yeah,
from that very high level.
it
In other
does.
words, this it seems to me that it was like a catapult to a very high level of being. And this is not resilience. I think it's anti-fragile. That means a willow will bend in the wind and come back up. That's a resilience. But you are different, Davida. You're anti-fragile. You are of a higher consciousness. It's not even the same Davida. It's a Davida that's expanded awareness. And
Very
uh,
expanded. Yeah.
and this is
I
why
think
patients
also that,
sometimes, yeah, go ahead.
another thing that I was going to mention in my story of the kind of experiences I had
Mm,
was this idea of uh, connecting. Oh, it's very important for me as an artist too, because it's got to do with the imagination.
mm,
So in our society, imagination is often denigrated as mere fantasy.
mm,
Oh, you just made that up.
yeah.
Or that's just fantasy, right? Even though we all use our imagination in creative ways, but there's just a tendency to think it's limited.
Mm,
But I know that from the work that I did going through the crisis I went through, that imagination is a tool,
yes.
and it is a very flexible and powerful tool. You can do anything with your imagination. Whether or
Yes.
not you get the exact result you're looking for is the second step. The first step is you can do anything with your imagination. And so as I slowly became more skilled at giving over to it and visualizing with it and directing with my intention and imagining positive outcome, uh, I started to reconceive of what imagination really was.
Mhm,
I
mhm.
started to notice that it was a powerful tool for transformation. Um,
Absolutely. Yes.
yeah, and it's something that we just don't, there's this meditative technique that I was taught, and this is a perfect example uh, of where fear can get in the way.
Mhm,
Say there's something that you really want, and somebody is taking you through a breathing exercise and a tense and relax exercise and
mhm,
asking you to ultimately, once you're very, very relaxed, to focus in detail
mhm,
on the outcome, the colors of it, the people who are there, the sounds, the smell. Oh, focus in detail on that. And you can do all of that. And then they say the next step is to imagine that it's already happened,
mhm.
that it has happened. The thing that you so deeply want
It's
has
happened.
come.
Mhm.
It's come to you.
Yes.
And now the meditation's over. That last step is the most difficult because
Mm.
we're afraid to embrace what we want.
Yes. You're right.
We're so deeply afraid. And also if
Yeah.
we take that last step and go into that, then the question is, who's going to punish us? You know, we're going to be punished for imagining and for really wallowing, but giving over to the joy of the reception of what we really
So
want.
there's a feeling almost like a tie to guilt or
Yeah,
unworthiness even.
yeah. It's unworthiness. It's
Mhm.
unworthiness, and that comes from our
I think
society
it's
is giving ourselves.
eons of we
Oh
carry
yeah,
like a baggage.
yeah.
I've sometimes said to patients, this is a monkey on your back.
Mhm.
This monkey you take off, because you are what we are all worthy. But I know what you're saying, that we are afraid that this book or this paper or something, a dance will just be right, and we sort of restrain ourselves. There's a
We do,
restraint
we do.
and a restraint.
It's a kind of I know there's a word for it. It's like a self-fulfilling prophecy. We
Yes,
we
sabotage.
we sabotage. We
I think it's
sabotage.
just,
And it's very, very subtle, even for someone who's made a bunch of dances, etc. When I came to that place in the meditation where I was asked to now accept that this has already happened and you've received what you're asking for from your heart, I hesitated. I thought,
yeah.
what if I do that? I'll be punished, or like I have to wait for it to happen, then I'll enjoy it. No, no, you have to put your energy at the place where you will attract the fact
And
that it
and
will happen.
and also you have to be radically in the present, not some future, because
Yeah,
future is
that's where
not
your energy is.
happen. Yeah,
That's
I
right.
think you have to
That's where
be
your
radical.
energy is.
Hmm. This
So
is
that
so
was a huge lesson.
magnificent. This
That was a
is so
huge lesson for me.
You remind me of being totally in the present because Tiller, when he was testing his intention, this is a protocol that had never existed before. When you're talking testing your
Yeah,
intention, he's not talking about the brain imaging and blood flow and MRI and no, he bypassed all that. So
no,
he's saying, how do
yeah,
you measure intention? He used visualization, imagination. So in
right, right.
fact, Dean Tiller says when we would observe the pH of water going this direction or that, according to the intention, she was very clear that I observe in my imagination this pH meter going up, up, up,
Yeah.
and I have tremendous joy. She linked it to joy in that moment. It wasn't some future thing or not.
Mhm.
And you know what? They were never surprised. That was something very unique for me to hear because, yeah,
Yeah,
like it was gonna happen. What's the matter with you? And you know
yeah.
what? Tillers even they said, okay, the human cognition can control outer things. You know what they did? They lived in Scottsdale, Arizona, where for months at a time the temperatures average above 110,
Yeah,
120
yeah.
degrees. It's
Mm.
dry heat. You know what they did? I don't think people know this, but I'm sharing it here. They made an intention that their interior, their home environment would be a steady 72 degrees Fahrenheit. What happened? That's exactly what happened. And they said, how did you know? They said, "Well, our energy bills. It went down and it's okay. And to them, it was just funny. Like,
Yeah,
we
yeah,
could
of course.
do this. It was
Yeah,
funny.
yeah,
So, and they didn't think much of it. And here I'm going, oh, that's impossible. Like, right,
right.
right. Skepticism. Oh, come on. This wasn't in your